Hi, I'm Annie Fitzsimmons. I'm your Washington REALTORS legal hotline lawyer, and I'm sometimes asked a question, how do we document, as real estate brokers, how do we document a first right of refusal? And the answer to the question is, you don't document a first right of refusal. There is no standardized form, at least there's no statewide form, for a first right of refusal. That's because a first right of refusal is this wild monster of a provision that no real estate broker should attempt to draft. There are so many variables that can come into play with respect to a first right of refusal. I could not begin to define for you what a first right of refusal is in every case, because the terms of a first right of refusal are going to necessarily be dictated by the terms agreed upon between those two parties. The companion to the question of how do I draft a first right of refusal is, what do I do as the listing broker with this first right of refusal that the seller signed 4 years ago? And the answer to that question is, I don't know. As a real estate broker, you shouldn't do anything with it. You should advise the seller to seek legal counsel about their obligations with respect to this first right of refusal. Again, the first right of refusal is a beast unique unto itself. Brokers, please don't attempt to draft one. Remember that the Supreme Court in Colton versus Heritage House, the 1985 decision that gave you a license to draft a purchase and sale agreement, gave you that license to draft a purchase and sale agreement in simple transactions. If the seller needs a first right of refusal, it's probably not a simple transaction. Advise that seller to seek legal counsel. If the seller says, why have I hired you? I'm not going to go talk to a lawyer. You draft it for me. You have to resist and say, I'm sorry, I cannot write a first right of refusal for you. I have no forms available to me to be able to do that. Seller, you've got to go talk to a lawyer. If you don't, then you won't have a first right of refusal in this transaction. When the seller comes to you as a listing broker and says, here is a first right of refusal, maybe it's recorded on title property, maybe it's not, but make sure that I don't violate the terms of this first right of refusal when I sell the property. Make sure you give the holder of this first right all the notice that's required. Listing broker, tell the seller you cannot do that. You cannot read and interpret that first right of refusal. Seller, you've got to go talk to your lawyer about what's required under this first right of refusal. I will adhere, as your listing broker, I will adhere to yours and your lawyer's instructions with respect to this first right of refusal, but I will not read it, I will not interpret it, and I will not assure you that I will conform to its requirements, because that's not something I'm licensed or insured to do. I hope that makes sense to you. If you have questions on first rights or anything else, send an email to me, legalhotline@warealtor.org. Thank you for being a Washington REALTORS member.